What's up, everybody? I'm TK. You're watching Unstoppable. You know, it's that time of the year again where everybody is publishing marketing trends videos. The problem with marketing trends is, as a CMO, as a marketing leader, as a practitioner, it's just 10 more things you have to worry about. In this episode of Unstoppable, I'm going to walk you through a different approach in thinking about the big trends that are happening in marketing. We've got this insane new rig where I can actually set this camera up top while I draw out some concepts, and at the same time, I can talk to you right here. So I'm super pumped about it. Let's go do this. Let's get started. Great marketing is when more people are finding out about your mission, your cause, your business, and your brand every day, and there are more people joining that movement than there was yesterday. That's successful marketing to me. And so first, we're gonna talk about what is the current landscape in marketing. Then second, we're gonna be talking about what are the key trends that are happening in marketing? What are the big changes that are happening? And then number three, I'm gonna give you 3 strategies that you can follow to buck those trends in 2018 and be successful as a CMO, a marketing leader, or a practitioner. Let's get started. So first of all, in terms of the marketing landscape, I want to break it down into you've got traditional, you've got digital, and I think we're right at that point where it's just going to be marketing from here on forward. It's not going to be digital marketing and traditional marketing, it's going to be just marketing. But for today's sake, just for the landscape, I want to talk about digital and traditional slightly separately. And then as we lay out the landscape, I'll talk through the key trends that are happening. And then as we work our way down, I'll talk about some key strategies that you definitely want to employ as you go into 2018 and you're planning. So ultimately, let's just talk about why we exist as marketers. At the end of the day, you've got your brand. And this brand, essentially, regardless of whether you're following traditional marketing, digital marketing, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you've got people that you want to reach out to. So you've got people that are out there, and these are your potential customers. And there's millions of them, hundreds of them, depending on your business, whether it's B2B, B2C, doesn't matter. There's just a lot of them, hopefully. So these are potential customers. And eventually, as your brand gets discovered by them, as your business gets discovered, as your products and services get discovered, hopefully these potential customers turn into real, legit, happy customers. And hopefully over time, you get more and more and more and more and more of them. And they're all happy. So let's just go back 50 years or even 100 years. If you think about marketing and what marketers did 50 years ago, 100 years ago, before the internet, there were really only a few ways where you could reach your target customers. You had radio, you had TV, you had newspapers, billboards, you get the picture, and also events. So that's your traditional form of marketing, and you could take your brand and bring it through here, and they would help you reach your target customers, and then they would help you turn them into happy customers. Pretty simple, right? Then everything changed, and if you ever go to one of those marketing conferences and there's a slide with that person that comes on stage giving the keynote and it just starts with digital has changed everything. Well, yeah, everything has changed. The way we market and go after our target customers, the way we spread our brand and our message has dramatically changed because of digital marketing. And so when you think about digital marketing, what ended up becoming really, really special is the fact that now you could go and have, instead of trying to go to CBS, ABC, Fox, or something like that, you could create your own presence. So you could create your own website. And of course, with the internet, a big portion of the website was a blog and other forms of publishing materials in a really easy way. And this allowed your potential customers to find your website and discover your brand and then become customers. So that was pretty magical. And I think that it's easy to forget that just from this simple flow of having a website and having people being able to discover you, that was so massive and so important. Now, of course, things started to evolve as more websites started to get created. You essentially had to figure out a way to get distribution on the internet. And so there was this layer that was created over here. And the main thing that happened was search. So you had the old search engines, you had Google, you still have Google, which owns the lion's share of the search monopoly right now. And so people would be able to search for things they were looking for and then discover your website. And along with this, your own website, there were tons of media sites that started to get created as well. So the traditional media companies, along with new media companies, all started to create their own websites along with your sites, so that through some sort of either earned or paid media, you could also get discovered. And so essentially, they could find you through here, through here, through here. But the internet allowed you to get a presence of your own and get discovered by potential customers. Now, of course, along with the internet came email, which still is the only communication method over the internet that is not owned by one company, which is important to remember. Email is not owned by anyone. It's completely distributed, completely ubiquitous. You don't have to pay to send emails. Very important. And so through email, brands could then communicate with their potential customers, just as they kind of did in the older days with phone as well. So you have phone, email, search, and then of course, 2005 onwards, social started to become a big thing. So social media became really popular and very, very important. And so of course you got Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and even Snapchat. And all of these essentially created a whole new channel for people to communicate with each other on the internet and discover your brand. And one of the biggest changes that happened over time with social media is instead of people going to their own profiles, you essentially had a social feed. And these feeds essentially took all the content from all over the websites and took everything that you were sharing and put it on one feed so people could go scroll, and oh, that's an interesting thing, I have a problem around that, let me click on it, and they would end up at your website. And from that website, you could capture their email, you could reach out to them, and eventually you could nurture them and turn them into a real customer, or they would go to your website, go to your store, and buy something and become a customer. Super easy, super powerful. But essentially, social media and feeds drove traffic to your website as well. Now, if you take a step back from this, the reason I wanted to pedantically explain the landscape is that marketing is not that complicated. At the end of the day, you've got your brand, and your brand has potential customers, and you need to reach them and turn them from being potential customers, not knowing about your brand, to knowing about your brand, believing in your mission, and becoming happy customers and purchasing something from you, essentially. And there are two ways that we've done it since the beginning of time. You've had the traditional way through all of these channels, and now you have the digital way through websites, media sites, and social media sites. And this changed everything. This really did, because there was this whole new way of getting to your customers and reaching them and spreading your message than there was before. So when they say digital has changed everything, it really has. It created a whole new way. That's why. Now, it used to be that people would just go on a search engine and look at a directory and find your website, or go to a media site and then go link through to your website. But the biggest change that's happened is advertising on the internet. Advertising on the internet now permeates pretty much every channel. You have to do SEM instead of just SEO on search, and you have to do promotions on all the feeds instead of just organic reach. And this is an important thing to note, because the internet is becoming more pay to play, and we'll talk about that as we get into the trends. That is the current marketing landscape. It's not that complicated. You've got your brand, you've got your potential customers, and in order to get heard by your potential customers and turn them into happy customers, you either have to go through the traditional channels or the digital channels, and for a lot of cases, you have to pay to get that attention. And now let's get into the trends. We've got the landscape down, you got traditional and digital. Some of those are trends in itself, but not worth writing home about, right? We all know about it, we're all on the cutting edge. What are the big trends that are happening now in 2018 that we have to worry about as we navigate into 2018? And really for me, I like to think about core principles that are happening, macro trends that are happening. And so this is not just going to be a 2018 trend. These things we're gonna have to start thinking about over the next 5 years of our jobs in marketing. So the first trend that's happening that's important to mention is volume of content. Volume of content on the internet is at an all-time high. Now, I know that's sounds like an obvious statement, but let me just kind of explain to you what that actually sounds like what we really mean by it's at an all-time high. So if you think about volume of content on the internet, let's just take 2 key things that we think about as marketers. The first one, let's just say blog posts, articles being published, whether it's by a media site or by a brand. The volume of content on the internet has grown astronomically. So every 60 seconds, so that's every minute, 1,400 new blog posts are published. On top of that, if you think about video, and we all know that right alongside Google, the second biggest search engine is YouTube. If you think about video, there are nearly 500 hours of video posted on YouTube every 60 seconds. So every minute, think about the last 60 seconds, 1,400 new blog posts and 500 hours of new YouTube videos were published. And this, obviously, you can give a search for all kinds of things around volume of content created. You can look at all kinds of stats around volume of content created. This is across Facebook posts, Messenger posts, messages, which we'll talk about in a second. This goes on and on. There's tons of content being created. The second big trend that is the second big trend to think about that's happening, and this will continue to accelerate, this trend is going to continue to accelerate, is the amount of free attention. People just discovering your website, people just searching and then ending up on your website, the amount of free attention that you get without running advertisements on the internet is at an all-time low. That's going down more and more. And there's 2 key things that are happening. The first thing that's happening is there's a lot more AI at play. And really, you don't think about it as AI, but it's algorithms. The algorithms are being applied to your feeds and even to your inboxes. And what this means is algorithms are starting to determine which posts are being shown to people. Because there's just so much volume of content, any normal user, if they were to log into Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or even their Google searches, they would be overwhelmed with the sheer volume of content that's being created that's probably relevant to what they're looking for. And so algorithms are coming into play and looking at all kinds of different factors to figure out what's relevant and what should be shown. So in addition to that, let's just say when you go into Facebook, they can only show you 10 posts, right? And there are 1,400 posts that got created in the last 60 seconds. 1,400 posts got created in the last 60 seconds. How does Facebook decide what to show in their algorithmic feed? You log into Gmail, tons of marketing emails hitting your inbox. And so Gmail neatly categorizes those away into a separate folder called promotions. There's no prioritization, it's just the last one that came in. But the feeds are determining, hey, this is not a normal email, this is a promotional email, and I'm gonna put it in a different folder. And so free attention is going down because there's just more content and algorithms are deciding what to show. And on top of that, there's just more ad dollars. These companies are saying, if you want priority in the algorithm, in the AI that's determining what to show a target customer, then you have to pay. Seems pretty simple, seems fair, but the amount of free attention that you can get online is going down more and more and more because of volume of content going up, AI determining what to show users, and advertising, more and more types of advertising being introduced into the feeds, into the search results, and anywhere else that you can get free attention in the past. Now, there are 2 things I actually want to tell you in terms of trends that are happening in this free attention economy, if you will. The first one is organic reach. Organic reach is something that Facebook refers to, and right now it means it's at roughly 2%. And what organic reach means is that if you create a page on Facebook for your brand and then you post something on it, only 2% of your audience, the people that actually like that page, will get to see it in their feeds, on average. It means that unless you post something and then pay Facebook $15 to go boost that post, only 2% of the people that have actually elected to like your page, they want to receive information from you, only 2% of them will actually get it organically, and it'll get placed in their feeds. The other thing, and this is the big one, when you think about ads, for the first time ever, in 2017, digital advertising had a bigger lion's share than TV advertising. So if you think about TV and you think about digital, TV had roughly 178 billion and digital had 209 billion. For the first time ever, digital advertising spend was $209 billion and was greater than TV advertising spend at $178 billion. Now, mind you, the people that traditionally advertise on TV aren't slowing down. TV advertising actually grew. But at the same time, digital advertising went past TV advertising spend. So there's more money being spent on digital advertising than ever before, which plays to the whole free attention is hard to get, more volume than ever before, and therefore you have to pay to play. The third big trend is when you think about trust in terms of a society, in terms of people, there's this thing called the Edelman Trust Barometer. The Edelman Trust Barometer measures the level of trust that people have in terms of big companies, institutions, and governments. And that is at an all-time low. Another big trend that's happening is people are moving away from their Facebook feeds and taking all the things that they talk about into private groups. So Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp groups, Line, you name it, any messaging app, those are all on the rise because instead of sharing something in a master feed and getting ostracized for it or getting into internet comments, which are the worst thing ever, they're sharing everything in smaller groups with people that they really trust. And then the third thing that's happening is there's a whole rise of what we call influencer marketing and advocacy marketing. Regardless of whether you're B2B or B2C, in both cases, that's going up too with influencer marketing and advocacy. And what that means, if you kind of take a step back, trust barometer at an all-time low, usage of private messaging apps all-time high in terms of groups, Facebook groups even, huge, uncapped growth potential there. And also, instead of going to well-established, trusted, quote-unquote, review sites, they're going to influencers, they're going to advocates, they're asking their friends to understand which brands to buy, which products to buy, which services to go after. Most importantly, it's happening at scale. When you look at Instagram, Instagram is insanely powerful right now, not because big brands have these accounts with all these likes, that's there, but because there's also thousands and hundreds of thousands of people that have their own accounts that are promoting brands that they like. The fourth big trend that's happening is data. It makes a ton of sense, right? Volume all the way up. More content being created ever before, 3.8 billion people connected on the network. So with all of this usage, all of this engagement, there's more data than ever before. You can actually create databases around people, around companies. You can map out their propensity to buy, and you can even create an ideal customer profile database of people that you want to go after. And so data is more available than ever before, and you can do a lot of really interesting things with it. These are the four key things that are happening. These are macro trends that are happening in marketing, especially in terms of digital marketing. And because of that, there are some really interesting strategies that you just have to consider for 2018. So not tactics, not just things to do in 2018, but strategies to put into play so that as you look at the next 5 years of marketing, you can leverage these four trends that are going to only increase as the years go by. And so now the question is, well, what do you do about all of these? If this is the landscape between traditional and digital marketing, if these are the big trends that are happening, then what do you do to win, to buck these trends, to get ahead of them? Here are the things that I think are going to be important as we look ahead in terms of the craft of marketing. The first one is embracing being data-driven. Now, every marketer claims to be data-driven, but do you really look at the data? Are all of your decisions based off of data? Do you truly understand how to leverage the data to make smart marketing decisions? I look at embracing the idea of being data-driven slightly differently. I break it down to one customer record. Every CMO that I talk to is recognizing how much data there is, but how they're all over the place. And they're prioritizing the work that's needed to take all of the pieces of data and create one view of the customer. In terms of being data-driven, the other thing that's super important is to have a complete profile. And that breaks down into, are they an ideal customer? And what is their propensity to buy? And sometimes that comes down to intent. That's number one. Number two is you've got to drive towards being more authentic. Because there's so much volume, there's so much noise, it's so much harder to get in front of people. And even if you're getting in front of people, you're paying, you have to get smart and get good about being authentic, about being personalized, about being in every channel, and about having a meaningful conversation. And that breaks down to being multi-channel, and they're all connected. That means that you actually leverage influencers and advocates. And that also means that you're doing outbound, if you're particularly on a B2B side. What that means is don't just wait for the customer to find you. Figure out who your ideal customers are, map out those accounts, and actually go after them and connect with them and engage with them. And number three, here's the third strategy that almost no one talks about, and I think they should, more than actually doing. It's about thinking. The CMO gig, the CMO job is always under siege. You always have to prove your value, justify your budget. And the one thing that I think always gets overlooked, and this is the third strategy that you want to employ given the macro trends in the landscape that we're in, you want to think about culture, community, and purpose. Culture, community, and purpose. That is a new definition of great brands. Great brands have a great culture, they have a community around them, and they have a very clear purpose around what they're trying to achieve. And you as the CMO, you as the marketer, in this landscape, every single touch point across channels with every customer, wherever you are, whether it's the website or social or traditional marketing, you have to connect it back to your company's culture, your community, and your purpose. And you have to be the keeper of that. Because if you are the keeper of that, you are the person that owns the whole customer record. You are the person that's engaging with all these people on a one-to-one basis in a personalized way. You are the one building the community of all the potential customers and influencers and advocates. And you are the one that's connecting all of them around this common purpose. You, the CMO, you, the marketer, are going to be unstoppable, not only in 2018, but for the next years and decades to come. I'm TK, thank you for watching. These are my trends for 2018, and here's why. Hit me up, email me, tk@getunstoppable.com. You can fill out this little link if you want to do a 30-minute strategy call with me about your marketing, or just give me feedback on this or talk about this. And please subscribe, because I'm going to be doing more episodes digging deeper into these trends, into these strategies, and talking about how to make them real. I'm TK, you're watching Unstoppable. See you next time.